allowed to step out of line. We develop a way of thinking that is almost like it's a tribal way and it's kind of a religious way. And I'm curious to know how you guys feel about your ability to be completely independent outside of that and how that's affected the way you think about things. Because for me personally, like having all these conversations with so many different people about so many different subjects, I'm a different person.
Yes.
Like I'm a completely different person. It's shaped me so. It's like the most bombarding, overwhelming education that it's like very difficult to process. But if you're in a corporate environment, it's very hard to think independently. It really is. You don't have the time. You don't have the notion. You definitely don't benefit from it.
You don't have the incentive. That's
yeah, if
the
you
big one.
speak out, you're fucking penalized. You can lose your job. Just things that aren't even like out of line. Like I remember there was a hockey guy. He was a hockey commentator, and he said that all lives matter, and he got fired.
Holy shit. Yeah.
It's like, it's just like what an egregious misstep.
Joe,
all lives matter.
You know, I got my start in media on MSNBC.
Yes, I know.
So, I mean, am I a different person from those days? God,
yeah,
I certainly hope so.
That's why I wanted to bring it up to you guys.
I go back and look at it. And, you know, some of it I watch and I'm proud of. You know, I focused on a lot of the same issues I do, like labor and economic inequality, economics, things that I really care a lot about, especially on foreign policy, though. Some of that stuff I go back and watch and I'm like, oh, my God, this is so cringe. And I just bought into the corporate line. Now, ultimately, shortly before I was let go, I did a monologue when Hillary Clinton was building up to run for president. It was back in 2014. So this was early on. And I did this whole thing that was like, she's sold out to Wall Street. People are going to hate this lady. She's like the terrible candidate for the moment. Please don't run. And I was allowed to say it, right? I delivered my thing. I did it exactly how I wanted to do it. Afterwards, I get pulled into an office and, you know, great monologue, everything's fine. But next time you do any commentary on Hillary Clinton, it has to get approved by the president of the network. Yeah. And think about, you know, I mean, I would love to say that I did further Hillary Clinton commentary. There's no doubt about it. But I would love to say that didn't affect me and I was just there to be a truth teller. But listen, I'm a human being. I'm sure I responded to the incentives in that system of like, I don't want to get in trouble with the boss.
For sure.
You know, and that's the way that it works. People, that's a very blatant example, but oftentimes people know where the boundaries are. They know what they're allowed to say, and so they don't need that direct intervention of censorship. And also, by the way, these people, most of them in, you know, cable news, they're not really there because they're talented. They're there because they're reliable purveyors of whatever it is that network wants to purvey. So that's ultimately why they get the job, and they understand the parameters of the task.
Well, there's just a thing that happens when you're connected with someone. If you're connected financially, if you're connected in a friendship way, that's why cronyism works.
Yes.
That's a good point.
Absolutely.
They weasel their way in. And look, I can give you examples of it in my own life.
Yeah.
Like if anybody ever comes to me with any kind of criticism of Dana White, and I'm like, you're going to the wrong guy. Like, that guy's my brother. I'll never say a bad thing about him. If I didn't know him, if he was some asshole that lived in some other country, I would probably talk shit about him like I talk shit about everything. But I love that guy to death, and I'll never say a bad word about him. So it's like, if you're coming to me for objective journalism about one of my friends, you know, you got the wrong person.
Yeah, but you're open about it, right?
Yeah,
and
that's the most important
key,
part.
You got the wrong person. I won't say I won't lie, but I won't ever say anything negative about my friends. It's just like, I don't think that's necessary. And that's something that happens when you get a shit ton of money involved and you get relationships and you're drinking scotch together at a private club and you're discussing the advertising revenue, and we'd like to donate a bunch of money to CNN. We'd like to figure out a way that we can work together. You know, hey, I'm a fucking Captain Billionaire and I want to donate all this money to all these people that own media organizations, and I would, you know, I'd like to be your friend.
That's it. It's
That's
Let
fun.
them be your friend.
It's cool, right? Who doesn't
It's
want to
hard
go to
to
fun
resist.
parties?
It's
And-
just friends. We're friends.
yeah, it's all part of a system, and
We go
that's where
fishing.
this is the other thing. Actually, I was hoping to bring up is I don't think people understand that cable is a fake business model. So, for example, like we talk a lot about the failing ratings. The key demo numbers on all three of these channels is a joke. I always like to say like Krystal and I would be starving in a ditch if we were getting the same numbers as these people. So, how do they survive? It's because they're part of something called the cable bundle. And so, like, when you buy cable, like Cox Communications or whatever, they pay, or Comcast, for example, they pay CNN and MSNBC and Fox to be a part of the bundle. The vast majority of the profit of these cable channels comes from the bundle. So CNN made $1 billion in profit just last year, all propped up by the bundle, because they're getting paid just to exist. I mean, can you imagine if we were getting paid to exist, not based upon our actual numbers? Like,
Yeah.
you can actually reach less people and make more money. And so it's all part of this fake system. But I mean, the benefit is that with the rise of independent media, more and more advertisers are waking up. The less eyeballs, the less of an incentive for the bundle to actually pay them to be a part of it. And that's why I was actually really excited by Amazon striking that deal with the NFL, because I'm like, yes, get the rights away from these people, because that is what props up all kinds of bullshit that we don't have, like a small d democratic input with our eyeballs on CNN or any of these places. They can exist just fine without us. Like, to really kill them, we have to get away from live news on TV. That's the number one thing still propping them up today.
Yeah.
Yeah.
It's kind of a zombie business model. But I will tell you, I mean, I have a lot of optimism, certainly about what we're doing, about the response to what we're doing, about the independent media ecosystem. But you and I were talking the other day, Joe, about I do think it's a dangerous moment for people. And one thing we've been covering a lot on the show is some of the stories that have kind of like held the country together and that people helped use to make sense of their life, or even the story about the American dream. A lot of these things are kind of breaking down. Now, that's a good thing because it creates a possibility for a new, more beneficial story. But in the meantime, it is just a like heyday for con artists and charlatans and, people who are willing to sell a narrative to, a lot of folks who feel kind of lost, kind of adrift, and don't like existing in that chaos. So it's like, whether they're being scammed by like SBF or this like Congressman George Santos who like made up every aspect of his
That
life.
guy's amazing.